So you the one that like celebrated Halloween.
Right. She celebrates all the
So
holidays.
she's the one. Okay. I walked here. I was like, when did y'all?
Any holiday, actually.
Any holiday, that's what I said.
Any holiday, I celebrate. But I didn't get this stuff. Well, I got some. Yeah, the candles. He got the heads.
The skulls down there too.
He got the.
Actually, I think I did get it.
Even,
I think right.
even the stuff out front. Which
But
one?
you
y'all
got the
got?
stuff off front.
That was your.
Yeah.
That was you. You do St. Patrick's Day.
No.
Oh, okay, so you have.
Yeah, that has like some cultural significance.
Okay, I got it. I'm just saying, man, I'm going to have Cinco de Mayo in this one.
right. Taco Tuesday.
Hey,
Taco Tuesday.
we celebrate
Tuesday.
holidays. Shoot.
Y'all should ask them Halloween gear.
No.
And then you should do like a spooky, preview, how you
Y'all laughing, but she probably right.
She was probably right though. Like we should probably like get costumes
She probably right.
and pot in costumes.
That would be so good.
Yeah.
We can't do it now though, because this is gonna air.
Not now. Yeah.
This is gonna air like this week. They're gonna be like, why they celebrate Halloween?
Yeah. Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with two-time FFPC champion AB. Alongside him is my guy, Dio the Machine. Guys, we have not potted in a while, but we back. Let's talk about this first quarter of the season.
Potted 2 weeks ago.
Did we pot 2 weeks ago?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, but that doesn't count. Like we haven't potted in person.
Oh, okay.
All right. I mean, these are the real ones, right?
I'm a stickler for the details.
All right. So let's talk about this first quarter of the season. You know, like I know that we, have a lot of teams, or I guess you guys have a lot of teams. I really only have 2 season-long FFPC teams.
Mm-hmm.
I do have some home leagues, but let's talk about how your teams are doing. Let's talk about this first quarter of the season. Specifically, let's talk about the biggest bust of the season. Who do you guys think so far is the biggest bust? I'll start first, and I should have listened to my guy, CeeDee Lamb right now, to me, is the biggest bust considering
Whoa, really?
where I had him, right? Like where I had him in my list.
Okay.
I think he's the biggest bust. I thought that he was going to be someone who we should consider right up there with, to me, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and then CeeDee Lamb was up there for me, and he's just not panned out to be that.
Yeah.
Your expectation was just too high then.
Too high. Because I didn't. I mean, we had a bet on Gallup, and I thought Gallup sucked. I was banking on Cook, but I didn't think Cook was going to really take any work. Like that offense just doesn't seem to be able to, I think, produce.
Yeah.
But like I said a couple weeks, I feel like we still haven't seen the offense
Exactly.
the way
The defense keeps scoring.
Yeah, the defense is going too hard on everything.
Yeah.
Like they're taking
Yeah.
all their opportunities away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who do you guys see as the biggest?
Well, I'm gonna
bust
answer
so
because
far?
I know Abby might take my guy. It's Darren Waller.
Oh yeah.
It's Darren Waller. Like,
Yeah.
Darren Waller is the ultimate bust right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy had one target for 1 catch and 5 yards this past
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
And this guy you're drafting in. Well, I initially was taking him in the 5th, but by the end of the summer, he's going in the 3rd.
Yeah.
The third.
And tight end
I took him
premium
in the
leagues.
4th. Yeah. Like I wasn't going
Crazy. And, it's a tight end premium league, so
Yeah.
you need
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get Dermot Smythe off the waiver wire. He could produce more points than Darren Waller. So,
Yeah.
but that's not my only guy. I think T. Higgins is a bust, a concerning bust too.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's just him. I think it's him and the offense.
Yeah.
And like I was telling you, they lost their wide receiver coach. He went to Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
He's the OC over there now. So that's a slight concern for me. Those
But do you
guys,
think position coaches are that important though?
I do. I do think
I
so.
think O-line.
I think all position coaches are
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
They can really unlock players' potential.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I agree with those. I mean, Darren Waller definitely has to be at the top of the list. And I definitely fell into the Darren Waller hype. But I remember, you had posted something on Twitter. Is Darren Waller a bust? And I know, there were quite a few, comments and kind of stirred some things up. And I think my response to it was like, irrespective of the entire offense and Daniel Jones, he just does not look good to me. You know, like I was very, very concerned. You know, I think I got fooled by the preseason. Okay, not necessarily about the production in the preseason, but just like how he looked in the preseason. Not really realizing he was going against preseason type defenses where, you know, he had a lot of space to operate and he could pick up a little bit more yak.
But it wasn't even just that. Like, we were hearing buzz in camp like he was the main guy. He was getting all the targets.
He was, but
unstoppable. You know?
But then
So,
I think, but for me, like I was also thinking to myself, like, okay, who's he going against? Like I actually think the beat writer that was reporting that actually mentioned like we don't really have good linebackers, and he towers over the linebackers. That was one reason. So, but to me, it was like seeing him in that preseason game, and I was like, okay, like he looks healthy, you know, and he should be the lead in targets.
and he looked unstoppable because they had like out wide or whatever. And
Yeah,
they just feel like he got like 5 catches in a row.
Yeah,
Like, I
so
remember
he
that.
looked like the Darren Waller from 4 or 5 years ago. But then, you know, fast forward to the actual NFL season, and it looked like it took one game or a few hits, and I just don't see the athleticism there. You know, he's a catch and fall type guy. You know, maybe he gets a little separation, but he's not going to do much with it.
Yeah.
And right now, obviously, that offense is in shambles. I think a lot of it's due to the O-line. Some of it's due to Daniel Jones, offensive coordinator, Kafka, and the head coach really aren't helping them out. So it's just like an accumulation of just like badness that's going on with the Giants. But that being said, I don't know about Waller. I do think like we see some changes once the O-line gets a little bit healthy and with the Giants. Now, as far as my bust, I'm going to define bust as not necessarily someone who's underperforming, but like someone who, you know, prevented you from taking someone who met value or exceeded value in the same range.
Okay.
Like, so in the third round, you mentioned T. Higgins. There are a number of players in the third round that could have, you know, that you could have taken over T. Higgins. You know, and if you did a lot of drafts, you probably diversified, which is smart.
Could have had Keenan Allen.
You could have had Keenan Allen. You know, I was that was like my guy.
I got
like,
a lot of Keenan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
too.
my guy. Yeah.
You could have had DK Metcalf. Early in the offseason, I was very much on DK Metcalf, and then I just kind of fell off. You know, I have 0 JSN, but the JSN hype was enough to prevent me from like really going in on DK the way that I wanted. So instead, like, you know, I started picking up some Jamari Gibbs, and actually looking back at my team, I probably only have like 2 to 5%. I really don't even have that much. So I'm still kind of lucky, but I'm really looking at Jamari Gibbs as the bust for me because he was very, very hyped. Luckily, he didn't, you know, really find his way into the second round, but that third round, there was a lot of great talent in that third round that you could have had. Yeah. And I think to me, I just do not see a path outside of an injury. And that's not something you want from your third round pick, is that it needs an injury for him to be significant. I do not see this as a situation as, he's, you know, give him a little bit more time and then he'll get there. And I also don't ascribe to that view of, you know, just be patient, give him a little bit more time. No, we're in what, week 4? We're in week 5.
Week 5, yeah.
We're going to
really
week
going
5.
to
Like,
week
we
5.
are a significant way through the regular season. Everyone says like early on does not matter. It all matters to me. It all matters to me. So I don't want to give up anything, but
I mean, for Gibbs specifically, I really actually do think it might be a little bit patient with him. I mean, he's still a rookie running back. They might have, you know, long-term aspirations this season. Like, they might be looking at, they might be true Super Bowl contenders, and they're kind of looking that way. So it might, I mean, it could be.
If that was the case, like, I think they really like David Montgomery.
Of course they like him.
But to have him like have 30 carries coming off an injury.
Yeah. But I mean, don't forget they gave David Montgomery a very good contract.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't see a path for Jamari Gibbs. And this is the thing. Remember we talked about this. Like,
is it Jamari Gibbs or is it Jamar Gibbs?
We're about to start that again.
he Jamari
It's
for right
Jahmyr
now.
Gibbs, man.
Yeah, he's Jamari for right now. I
Jamar.
said Jamari for a reason.
Okay.
When he started playing like Jahmyr Gibbs, then maybe we may put some respect on his name, Jamari Gibbs, because that's kind of how he's playing. He's playing a little. No, he's playing all right. But we talked about this previously. Like we keep falling into this trap of like we want these players to do X, Y, and Z, or we're anticipating X, Y, and Z to happen. And in a case like this, nothing changed with the head coach, with the offensive coordinator, with the O-line, with the quarterback. They literally did the exact same thing that they did last year, where they brought in in between the tackles RB, and they brought in a running back that is very good in the passing game.
Yeah.
So we saw this prototype last year.
But the only reason I'm really saying with Jahmyr Gibbs is because he is a rookie. They did draft him very highly.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, I think they have long-term aspirations. I think they're just trying to get him to that point where they can say, okay.
Yeah.
We'll let the rain now. Let's really see what you can do.
Or like keep them fresh for the playoffs.
And keep them fresh. You know, I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
You know, it's for a team that literally came out and said we were considering drafting them top 6.
Yeah.
Like,
But that's my thing, and you may be 100% right. In like week 9, week 10, he just sort of comes. But that's too late.
Like
for me.
we were being too anxious with the basically.
Yeah, but that's too late for me.
Now, let me say this. The question about who are bust this year, you can literally like put in like a whole bunch of just general running backs.
Yeah.
Because overall, there's been a lot of running backs.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they've just been totally bad.
Yeah.
But the production has not been anywhere close to what we were expecting.
The market was pretty accurate as far as pushing down pretty much almost a lot of running backs. So
even the hot running backs now, like Kyron Williams, undrafted or late guy.
Yeah.
Devon Achane, 9th round. You know, like there's guys that are top of the running back game now. You can even do that with tight ends too, by the way. But
tight end, all of them. That whole position is a bust.
Yeah. You know,
the whole position is a bust.
Crazy. It's kind of crazy. I don't know. Like Javonte Williams, are you happy with him?
Yeah.
If he's on your team?
Yeah.
Cam Akers, we took him in one of our drafts in the 5th round, you know, and people were taking him that high. I think he was even going forward. Are you happy with him? Dalvin Cook?
Yeah.
Are you happy with him? Like, it's a sad story when you really kind of go through it. Najee?
Yeah. But this was what I kept saying like early in the draft season is like there are like the pie has just been divvied up in so many different ways that there are so many relevant guys, especially when it comes to running back, and it creates this situation where it's just like, you know, you need to sort of kind of luck out to get the right guy in the right offense and have them go off, you know, because, you know.
Let me even ask you this: how do you feel about Tony Pollard's production?
He's a bust right now. He's a bust.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What we try to tell you?
Yeah. No.
You know, like what? Like people get talking about Tony Pollard. You just
crazy.
give him Zeke. I was like, it's not easy being an every down back. That shit wears on you, and you're just not gonna like pop off the same way you pop off when you got fresh legs and you coming in. You know, only like rushing 5 to 10 times a game.
You know who's another bust
Who?
that we?
But Tony Pollard will get his though.
Jamar Chase.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He hasn't been horrible, but if you're taking him top 3, hell no.
Over CMC.
CMC, man. Everybody, we all
But
got the ball.
this is the thing. I feel like the approach to some degree was right with CMC because you look at all the other running backs. You know, you look at all the other running backs. The whole thought process to me and my approach for the 2023 season was there are a lot of running backs that I really like late, and I just want to load up on these elite wide receivers. So that's why I had Diggs and Adams so high in the rankings because that's just elite production. And then you look out a couple of picks later with guys like Puka, you know, who he's
right. So and real quick before we move on, with all that being said, and going back to what we were talking about with Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't think it's only Jahmyr Gibbs that the sentiment I was making that goes for. I think a lot of these rookies we're going to find in the later half of the season are going to be used a lot more. Yeah. And especially when we talk about our group chat all the time, when teams start to like get out of the playoff hunt, you know, and they start feeling like they need to evaluate their young talent, that's where you're really going to see these guys really get a good large share. So, you know, I tend to think rookies are the cheat codes because your rookie year is the cheapest you're ever going to get them until they, you know, start going declining. You know, so.
But that's a good segue for our hang tight or cut bait segment. If this was like one of those like Bob Barker shows, like what was the name of the show?
Price is Right.
Price is Right. Price is Right. Like if we had like a specific segment, I would want this to be the hang tight or cut bait like segment.
Hang tight.
Okay.
Hang tight
or cut bait. And
so I can get with it.
And so like I want to talk about some players who like we should consider whether we should just hang tight or just like, hey, like they're not going to be what we thought they were.
Okay.
And the first is Chris Olave. Like he has not lived up to that late second round pick. Are you concerned that he may never live up to that? Now, granted, you're never going to cut him, really, right? Like, unless he's hurt. But you're definitely taking him out of your lineup, and you're looking at his matchup plays.
I will
right?
never take Chris Olave out of my lineup.
Really?
Never.
Okay, so you're hanging tight then on Chris Olave.
Yeah, I mean, he's only really had one bad game.
It's phony, by the way, but keep going.
I'm not taking Chris Olave out of my lineup. I mean, let me say.
And you know where I'm going
Yeah.
with this, by the way.
I'm usually Chris Olave is going to be
Chris
tough.
be setting you up, bro.
He does. I would say Chris Olave will be extremely difficult to take out of my lineup. You know, I would need to be looking at Puka, Sands, Cup. I would need to be looking at Kyren. But even then, like, Olave to me has so much upside. He's rarely ever in a matchup where I'm just like concerned about like him getting production. Every single draft pick for the most part, with the exception of usually 1 or 2 guys a year, are going to have dud games and multiple dud games. So it's just kind of built in. But to me, Olave really hasn't been a true bust. That Saints offense has been sluggish, but he's an elite talent and he's produced elitely. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet, so he scores a touchdown. Like TD is something that usually regresses, so he's gonna get his. Like,
I think
I'm not worried about that.
The bigger issue with that specific question is there's not many people that probably are on your bench that you're gonna be able to replace him with. You know, there's not that many late round wide receivers that you can really trust week in and week out to give you that type of production or has anywhere close to the type of ceiling Olave has.
Yeah.
I mean, all these guys are getting dud weeks. The way Zay Flowers came out, I thought, man, that was a late guy that's just gonna blow it up, and now he's kind of looking like, do I want to start him or not? You know, so. I agree with Abby. I'm not taking him out of my lineup. He's staying there. These dud weeks are just going to come. You got to hope to just weather the storm.
Yeah.
And you really got to you really have to look at your lineup and try to maximize every single position.
Yep.
Every single week,
including kicker and defense.
Kicker and defense. Like I hate having a lineup where there's even one guy that I'm like, man, he's just getting me by this week. I don't like those type of players. Like.
And I was pissing myself because I had Young Hoku in a lineup, and I knew I wanted to like take him out of the lineup, and it was you go through so many teams and so many waivers, and kickers is one of those notorious positions for me personally, where it's like I just like forget to like switch him out, and I had done it in every team that I had him in, with the exception of this one team, and if I would have switched him out of my lineup, I would have won that particular match.
Those ones that hurt.
Yeah, so
at 1 point. 1 point though, like I said,
1 point.
I think he only gave up like just one extra point. Like
he only scored 1 point.
Yeah.
And the only reason I like looked at the score is because he scored 1 point.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that hurts.
Because I was looking at the line, I was like, damn, this team put up because it was like an undefeated team. I was like, how did this team like? I'm looking at Young Hoku. I was like, man, I better not.
And that's why you have to take every single one of those positions because some guy on your roster can get a dud and that can drop your whole week. You know, so you have to build a team where everybody else can carry everybody if need be. So I'm also holding on to Olave.
What about Kyle Pitts?
Oh, he's done.
You think he's done?
He's done.
I'm holding Pitts just because a lot can happen that will change his situation.
But I'm not just saying I'm going to bench him. I'm saying I would cut Pitts.
A sabotage cut?
Yeah.
Have somebody just drop Fab. Because somebody's going to drop like a lot of Fab.
It ain't happening.
Well,
ain't happening.
I think
I think he might be hurt too, or he might be still coming back from an injury.
Yeah.
He doesn't look hurt at all to me.
I don't look like that offense doesn't look like they're trying to implement him.
This is the thing, though. I disagree. He runs. The offense has been running a lot of 12 personnel. So him and Jonnu are always on the field together, but he's always running routes. And he's usually split out wide, so he's usually like, I don't say usually, but my thing is like, he's still running a lot of routes, air yards or whatever, but his quarterback is still Desmond Ridder. So to me, the thing that could change is that
like I said in the
Ridder
group chat,
could get benched.
But like I said in the group chat, routes to me don't matter.
But
when I say they're not utilizing him, I think teams manufacture targets and touches for their players. Like, I think they literally say, we're going to call this play, and this play, the ball is going to this player.
They do. And some quarterbacks can't do that.
And I don't see – I mean, you can simplify
Like, he literally cannot do that. They have been simplifying it. That's why all he's doing is throwing to Bijan Robinson.
No, he's throwing to Drake London. He's throwing to John.
He's not really throwing to Drake London. He's really not.
Drake just had a touchdown last week.
He had a touchdown, but he's not getting targets.
What is Pitts doing? Pitts ain't doing anything.
I mean, Pitts is still getting targets. It's not like he's not getting targets.
Drake has gotten touchdown-type targets. Where like I see them going after him. You just said Bijan is getting targets. We know Jonu's getting targets. All I'm saying is if you know this guy is such a great player for your team, a talent, and can be a force for you, why not figure out ways to just get the ball in his hands and see what happens? I don't even think they're doing that. I think they're just allowing him to play in the offense. Like, this is your position, run your route. If the quarterback sees you open, the quarterback gets you the ball. And I don't think with a player of that type of talent, you should do that. Like the Cowboys, I've seen the Cowboys force feed CD, where it's like we're throwing the ball to CD Lamb right here often, and you know, and it gets up, even when he's covered, it's like, look, he's that good. Let me ask you this: if Pitts is covered, do you think he can still get the reception, or you think a cover guy will always impede him from catching the ball?
Again, I don't know because
Yeah,
of
I
his
mean,
quarterback.
that's probably back. I don't think any of us really know because we haven't seen it.
It's just the quarterback play has just been like atrocious. That's the only reason I say I'm holding is because
Then you're basically saying you're hoping for Taylor Heineke.
exactly,
My guy.
exactly. Your guy, yeah.
We're not gonna do this.
I would say he's my guy, but he's an upgrade over like Desmond Ritter.
So do you think it's gonna happen?
I do think. I think like in a couple of years. I think in my super flex.
In a couple of years.
Sorry, in a couple weeks.
Oh, it's like,
Yeah,
I was like,
in a couple weeks. Yeah, in a couple weeks.
like,
He won't be in the league in a couple years. In a couple weeks. So yeah, my super flex league, I put a waiver in this week for.
So
Taylor
really, what
Heineke.
you're saying is Ritter is on borrowed time and he's about to be gone.
Yeah, you cannot play like
very
this.
soon.
Either Ritter gets better and that benefits Kyle Pitts, or he continues to be bad and he gets benched, and then you bring in someone.
I
who's
think if
an
Ritter
upgrade.
gets better, I don't think Ritter is getting better because he's targeting Kyle Pitts. I think Ritter is getting better because the things he's doing it better, which means it's not going to be good for Kyle Pitts. I think you should.
What do you mean doing? What
Like I think he'll give Drake London better targets, or run that offense better. Where Drake London's getting better targets. Jonu's going to get better targets. Bijan's going to get better. Like I think what he's doing now, he's going to do it because the Falcons I think are 2-2. They've won games doing what they're doing. Now I'm not saying it's the best way to do it, but
it's looked ugly and it's looked unsustainable.
And we're talking about Arthur Smith, St. Arthur Smith last year, who was just running the ball over and over and over. For him, it's all about just win the game. He doesn't care how it looks. I think he even made a comment once early in the season. Remember game one? I think the receiver or whatever, like Drake London and Kyle Pitt had like one target, and then he was like, "We won, like it doesn't matter." Or maybe the quarterback was saying that.
That
might be how they feel.
I'm not a Pitts advocate. I'm not a Pitts guy whatsoever. I don't draft Kyle
But
Pitts.
you're just holding on to
What
him.
I'm saying is, if you have Pitts, like I would definitely be holding on
you're
to
benching him, though?
with the hopes. Say what?
You're benching him, or are you still in your
I
starting
mean, I don't
lineup?
own him. If I owned him, I would be benching him. Yeah. If I owned him, he would be on the bench.
That's crazy though, right? Because he was drafted fourth round.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I do have one share, and he's
you're
on the
benching
bench.
him?
Yeah, he's on the bench. But and that one share was just like he was. I think he had fell to the 7th round, and that's as late as he's ever gone.
See, the problem is
late fourth, early fifth.
yeah. The problem is a lot of, and I'm assuming I don't have any Pitts by the way. I've never been a fan of his, but. The problem is, I think a lot of people that did draft him in the 4th or 5th, they probably drafted him and were like, "Okay, I got my tight end."
That's my tight end.
set.
But this is the thing.
You know?
I went late round tight end, and all my tight ends. Like if I had a negative, you want to come at me, you come at me with my tight end picks. Hayden Hurst, trash.
Yeah.
Who else?
Week one, he was strong though. Week one, like he had a strong
Man,
week one.
you know, and I thought I was feeling. I thought I was like, I told y'all. That's why you don't do victory laps. Who was the other guy? Jawan Johnson.
Jawan,
man, my boy
Jawan is
Jawan.
bust.
We had a whole episode on Jawan.
Yeah.
He did too.
Sure did.
Yeah, Jawan found himself on the waiver
People
wires
sending
this
us
week.
comments about that.
Yeah.
Waller,
But
obviously.
all my tight ends now that have succeeded, and like week one, it was either prior to week one or just after week one. There were plenty of tight ends that had the potential to be tight end ones. Logan Thomas, Hunter Henry, Zach Ertz. I picked them up across the board, and those are the guys that are like. So you can have a Pitts, like the one Pitts team that I have Hurts and I have Logan Thomas.
I feel you. But what I'm saying is I think a lot of the field,
the general population.
they pick Pitts and they're like, that's my guy. And even when he had that first bad week, I don't think they were like, let me rush and find. Like I think by the time they realized Pitts ain't it, the tight ends.
And if you're in a home league, it's hard to carry 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
With short bench, it's like that's just something you don't want to do.
Like I think he's almost an anchor on some teams. Like, it's
I hate those.
I don't.
Yeah,
Yes.
me too.
It's like that's basically like your Dalvin Cooks.
Yes.
Like, some of these guys, I just dropped some of these guys.
So at some point, you just have to be like, look, cut bait.
But Pitts is tough though, and the tight end premium is tough. Elsewhere,
is.
you could argue it though.
It is.
But that's how it felt for me with Isaiah Hodgins, man. When I had to
Man,
drop
this boy,
Isaiah Hodgins.
So let me ask you this.
I guess we
then.
were all wrong. With the wide receiver.
Let me keep it real simple. Jonnu Smith is right there. Okay, let's say Jonnu Smith has one more week like he's been having, and I'm not
Right.
I'm not trying to have the
Right.
Jonnu Smith conversation. Like, right?
Right. All right. That's not good. That's not good.
Emoji,
That's not
right?
good. Let's keep
Wait,
it.
look,
Wait. Just
Let's keep
just
it in the group chat.
We did have a group chat. Okay. Dale did drop the name Jonnu Smith last week before
man.
Yeah.
the
Before
Jonnu
anybody
Smith,
was talking about it.
before the Jonnu Smith game.
Yeah.
I did respond, hell to the gnaw. I was like, man, you got to be out of your damn. But to be in all fairness, what I did also say that they run a lot of 12 tight end sets. They play different positions. They're both on the field. I just felt like Pitts wasn't going to lose his job, but it may be that his job does not see the targets. I guess.
Right.
So credit to Dale for that.
So going back to what I was saying, say Jonnu does have another week like he's had, like a solid week, and Pitts has another dud.
yeah,
If you're a Pitts owner and you see Jonnu Smith on the waiver wire,
yeah.
would you drop Pitts for Jonnu?
Nah.
Still,
Nah.
see, that's why he's such an
Yeah.
anchor.
That's me,
though.
But that's a psychological thing, right?
I just like I could.
Like if you took the name off
Yeah.
of him
yeah.
and just looked at production, like you have to make that move, but people can't make that move.
Let's transition a little
3
bit.
weeks I could do it.
Let's
I can't.
transition a little bit. Let's
Okay.
stay on Pitts though, but let's talk about teams that can make trades, like splashy trades. Is it possible that if Jonnu has another week, that Atlanta could say, "Hey, let's get rid of Pitts," like he'd be on the trading block?
But this is what I keep getting back to. This is like what I was initially saying is like they don't play the same position. It's not like you're trading Pitts because you got Jonnu now. They're playing two different positions.
Yeah.
Jonnu blocks. Pitts does not block. Pitts is
Right.
running routes, and theoretically, that's what we want our tight ends to do. That's why I'm wondering if you get a Taylor Heineke in there and he sees a big body Kyle Pitts, someone who's towering over a cornerback or who's dominating a linebacker in in his routes, then maybe he actually does feed him. Remember, like Heineke fed Logan Thomas. Now I know that's a different system, but he, it's not like he does throw the tight
Who
ends
was the
occasionally.
Falcons quarterback to start the season last year? Do y'all remember? I'm totally like blanking.
Yeah, it was Mariota.
Mariota.
And he was
Same
man, he
quarterback, to be honest.
He may be worse. He may have been worse than Ritter.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to think back to
And Jonnu was getting a lot of targets in air yards back then. Like he was getting targets in air yards, and he had I think he was just getting overthrown and had a lot of
Jonnu or Pitts?
uncatchable
Pitts.
Sorry,
Okay,
Pitts. Yeah,
gotcha.
getting a lot of uncatchable balls thrown his way. So I don't know. It's tough. It's one of those things. Like this is like a kind of a grander thought or like a more like a 60-foot view of just like fantasy football in general. It's like if I were a Pitts guy and I was like arguing why Pitts should be better or arguing like the pros for Pitts, already like my argument is flawed because the situation is what the situation is. So if I had Pitts ranked highly or I felt Pitts was going to do X, Y, Z and he does not, I can't then go back and say, oh, it's because of the quarterback. Oh, it's because of Arthur Smith. We knew those things. Those things should have been taken into account before
Right.
draft.
Right.
So
Right.
One more guy though,
Okay.
Quentin Johnson. Are you?
I'm not a Quentin. I didn't like him pre-draft. I don't really own
Are you
him.
holding on?
That kind of reverts back to what I was saying about the rookie stuff.
Yeah.
Like I actually think it's set up perfectly for him. Mike Williams is gone. He has the Mike Williams body type.
Right.
Now, of course, he's starting off slow, but that's kind of good because it's probably easy for you to acquire. Well, maybe not now because of the recent injury. But if he has another couple of dead weeks, I think people start to drop him. I don't think Palmer is much of a guy talent-wise.
At all.
Palmer is
He's a deep threat.
reliable.
He's really a deep threat.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he's really like a deep threat type guy. I don't think he
agree
really
too.
does it. So this is
Palmer?
this is a sneaky thing about QJ. And
What, you saying
again,
Palmer's a deep threat?
Palmer's a 3 threat.
Okay.
And I think this is a sneaky thing about QJ. And man,
Have we
the-
settled on
Stop
QJ?
saying
as
Q-
this- yeah.
Quentin Johnson.
yeah. We
I guess I'm not typing it out. I can say it. Quentin Johnson. They want me to type Quentin Johnson in a group chat.
It just don't
How
sound
many players
like
you know say QJ?
Like, I don't think QJ envision him
Q.
like
Can
I call
he
him
ain't there
Q?
yet.
Yeah, yeah,
You
Q.
call him Q.
I'm
Just call him
calling
yeah.
Quentin Johnson. Good.
Quentin.
All right, so
Q.
like this is a sneaky thing about Quentin Johnson. Like you said, Josh Palmer is just a guy. We've seen Josh Palmer. We've seen Josh Palmer with both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams out. We've seen him with just Mike Williams out. We've seen him with just Keenan Allen out. He's serviceable,
Right.
okay, but he's nothing great. That's why none of us really went in on him in terms of bids. But I really do think his greatest strength is the deep ball and not necessarily like, these shorter intermediate routes. Like I don't think that he's that type of guy. Quentin Johnson, again, I'm not a Quentin Johnson guy. I did not agree with them taking him. But with this offensive coordinator and, kind of going back to what you talked about in terms of manufacturing touches before, like he is athletic. So if they can manufacture touches for
Get the ball in
him,
his hand,
like he really could have a significant just jump
I agree.
mid-season. And the greatest thing that happened for him outside of obviously the Mike Williams injury, shout out to Mike Williams, sorry bro, ACLs. But the greatest thing that could have happened to him was this early week bye, because now they got 2 weeks to put something in, install new packages, get him accustomed. Josh Palmer is not it. But and they need somebody else.
Yeah.
But they come back with.
Well, Dallas hurting the DBs.
That's true. Diggs is hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think he's somebody that he can really be a thing.
Yeah.
They took him in the first round.
If you're in the home leagues, go get him. Like, he's a guy that you can go get.
They're
going to
want to maybe prove to people this was not the wrong pick.
Yeah.
Because now there's not any real true threat impeding him as far as getting snaps. So if he could just once he gets the ball, do something with it. Kind of have a phony season where it's he's making it seem like he's good, but really he's not that great.
And I've never thought Mike Williams was a great receiver. He's a good receiver. He's an NFL receiver, but I've never the way he runs his outside of the deep ball or just high pointing the deep ball and and somewhat ball tracking. I've never seen him as some great receiver. And the way they were using him on these short routes, intermediate routes, not necessarily bubble screens, but in the quick outs, was always kind of odd to me. He just never looked comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
So to me, if he's replacing him in the offense, those are high value, efficient touches.
Yeah.
That's an easy way to get 7 to 8 targets a game, and not just 7 to 8 targets a game, 7 to 8 catches a game. And those are those high efficiency routes and passes. So
another point I like to make on it is, as a Keenan Allen owner, I'm a little concerned about the longevity of him. I don't know if he can really do the whole season at the pace he's doing.
Possibly.
Keep in mind, he is older. He has had injuries every season the last few years.
Yeah.
He looked great now, but they're using him a lot. You would think maybe it's possible he can can start to wear down on him a little bit. Again, it's a long season, especially if they have aspirations going to the playoffs. At some point, they might say, okay, let's kind of let Keenan Allen especially if you start seeing they're giving him veteran days off.
Yeah.
I think that'll allow Quentin Johnson to be a guy.
I push back on the idea.
You think Keenan Allen can last the full season?
Yeah, I push back on it for a couple different reasons. Everybody gets hurt. We just see T. Higgins is out. He's a young guy. We see all these young guys getting hurt, and we never say anything about them and their age.
It's not about age. It's more about he's been injured recently.
But he's not injured now. He had an injury,
right.
But he had an injury that you can recover 100% from. His hamstring is 100% recovered. So
Right.
An injury, if he gets if he tears his ACL, it had nothing to do with the previous injury.
I'm not even talking about ACL injury. I'm just talking about wearing. I'm talking about his ankle. He just
But that
hurts.
has nothing to do. But that has nothing to do with his.
Yeah,
But that has nothing to do with his previous injuries. And any player can account that.
I'm not so much saying it has. I'm not saying they're related. I'm just saying he's been injured. So
Every player has been injured.
So because we've seen he's been injured and he's older. Let me
Every
ask
player
you
has been
this:
injured, but
as
every
a player,
player has been
as a
injured.
player goes up in age, does their injury risk go up?
I'm glad you asked that question. I brought it up in the offseason. When you go back and you look at elite wide receivers after the age of 30,
You're talking about production. I'm not talking about production.
There are numerous.
I'm talking about,
but that production, those elite seasons, I'm talking about a full season of production. Those elite seasons were not. Injuries did not occur in those elite seasons.
I'm not saying everybody gets hurt. I'm not making that claim at all. What I'm saying is the risk, the chance. Right now we're playing a game where we're trying to make some sort of future prediction.
I guess what I'm saying is the risk is no different than QJ getting hurt. I don't see any difference from him getting hurt.
But the question I
versus
ask
somebody else.
is just a simple question: do you believe as a person gets older in age, the risk increases?
No,
or do you
not
think it's
necessarily.
no?
You don't think that there's
No.
a such thing as wear and tear on the body?
They may slow down. they may like regress, but again, that's why I go back to elite wide receivers who are able to.
I would
have
to
disagree
with
but I
that.
disagree.
Yeah,
I think every player, as they get older, they start to have more
Look at the
injuries.
running back. We can go over so many instances. Look how many young running backs tore their ACLs.
We're not
last
saying
year.
it's not possible to get
Possible.
hurt when
Okay,
you're
so
young.
look at the numbers from last year.
What we're saying is
the
when
most
you get
recent year,
older,
2022. Look at the running backs from last year. The most recent year, 2022. There are probably more young players that had injuries than there were older players.
Are you
that
telling me?
claim.
Listen.
We're not
are you
making a
telling
claim
me
about the young guy.
that you don't wake up now. Just you yourself. You don't wake up now,
I'm
and
not
your
30,
knee is
I'm
like.
not 31, and I'm not.
But like what I'm
and I'm not a
saying is-
professional athlete.
But like what I'm saying is, like, just naturally as you age.
But that's what I'm saying. You can't say that because when you do, this is the problem. This is why I push back on that. When you generalize like that, it then affects your draft approach. One of my things, and that's what I put out on Twitter as far as like one thing, like, you know, when I like kind of made all those comments and made this like list of things notes that I took from the 2022 season in February or March was that like older players are going to get undervalued. And I was specifically talking about Keenan Allen and Devontae Adams.
Right.
And if they get hurt, they get hurt. But guess what? The younger guys are getting hurt too.
But it's not a thing where I'm saying.
If you can show me a study where
it's not a thing where I'm saying production is going to drop or you should avoid these players in draft or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is as they get older, there's a chance for them to get injured more. Like the risk increases. That's all I'm saying.
That I don't know. I don't know that for a fact. I don't know that for a fact.
I think we've seen it. I think it's just straight
I don't know that we've
experience.
seen that.
I just think it's common
I
sense.
don't.
Yeah, it's straight up common sense.
Because I woke up this morning and my shin hurt and I didn't do anything.
But see,
That's
again,
what happened.
that's
It's
generalizing.
just naturally, as you get older.
If you look, I'm a very evidence-based guy. Okay, I'm an evidence-based guy. So if you provide me a study to say wide receivers from the ages of 29 to 32 have X, Y increased risk of injury,
No, that's not
then I
what I'm
believe
saying.
it.
So you
But
don't
that's-
think
that- but then
you don't
can't-
think that the human body naturally deteriorates.
It does, but that has nothing to do with a 31-year-old elite wide receiver. Those
It
are two
does
different
if
things.
he's-
It does
We
not.
can
You
move on,
cannot
man.
generalize.
We disagree, but we can move on.
Yeah, he's no different than any other wide receiver that get injured. Mike Williams is the one that tore his ACL, not Keenan Allen.
But we're not saying young guys can't get hurt. You keep
Mike
comparing
Williams.
it to the young guys. Every player can get hurt.
Exactly. So
that's not what we're saying.
And I'm not.
Right.
And what I'm saying is that he is not at any increased risk of getting injured than some of the younger guys. Is what I'm
But you
saying.
keep comparing him to the younger guy. We're not comparing. I'm saying, and again, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but just one more time, as he gets older, as he gets down to the twilight of his career, I think the risk of him getting hurt increases. The wear and tear on his body starts to pile up, and it becomes more of an issue as he gets older. I mean, that's literally why people leave the league.
Yeah.
Not many players leave the league because they're just like,
Yeah.
my time is done, I'm gone. Most players leave the league because now they're hurt.
Their bodies
they can't
break
come
down.
back. They can't come back.
And my pushback is that if he's been hurt over the last few years, then he's not suffered that wear and tear. And my pushback is also again that like anybody can get hurt.
That made no sense to me. But
Anyway, can I?
Well, you said he was hurt. You said wear and tear. He's been seeing a lot of plays getting
That's
hit.
wear and
not-
tear. That's the tear.
Well,
No,
wait,
that's
wait,
not the
wait,
tear.
wait.
The wear is running
But
around.
wait,
The
this
tear
not-
is the
Yeah, he
injury.
wasn't running
This is
routes
not
last
even my
year.
initial point. My initial point goes back to Quentin Johnson.
Yeah.
Again, Mike Williams is gone. Sorry, Abby, but if
Yeah.
Keenan Allen does get hurt, I think it even puts
becomes
Quentin
in.
Allen in a greater situation.
Yeah.
And if in that offense, they're not going to stop throwing the ball.
No.
Justin Herbert's still going to put it up there.
Yeah.
I think you might have a gold mine. So.
Yeah. All right.
But you can say that both ways is what I'm saying. But okay.
No, all right. I hate to sound like Big T, but what in the hell is going on with the Bengals, man? What is going on? I mean, people were taking Jamar Chase 2, 3, pick 2 or 3. I'm going like T.
He was
Higgins
going first overall in some
Yeah.
places.
So yeah, T. Higgins was going late second round.
Irv Smith ain't doing
Mid-third round.
nothing.
Yeah,
Well, he
Irv
hurt,
Smith,
but
yeah,
still.
Yeah. I
Tyler
mean,
Boyd has been kind of mid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, what is going on with the Bengals?
So
man?
we talked about being patient. Like this is a team you 100% want to be patient on. Okay, so it's clear. Like one of the biggest issues is just Joe Burrow has not been healthy. Like you can see it. They are trying. It's a bunch of quick passes. He's really not doing like he's getting the ball out as extremely quick to avoid being hit. He's not, you don't see these like 5-7 drop. You don't see rollouts. You don't see play action pass, bootlegs. You don't see any of that. He's not running out of the pocket. He's not mobile. That takes away from a significant part of his game. But he is getting healthy. this is the exact same offense, minus what Dale brought up, the wide receiver coach being missing. But essentially, this is the same exact offense. So this is one of those teams, and this happens with. This is like, again, I was like the kind of broader view, but this is one of those situations where like something happens the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season, and then things completely change. You like expect like week 5 through week 9 to look very different from week 1 through week 4. That is just how the NBA works or the NFL works, and it happens on a yearly basis, and that's because teams adjust. Teams get healthy, other teams get injured. These things just happen. I don't know how much their O-line is going to improve, but we should see the health of Burrow improving, and Burrow is an elite talent. He did not lose talent. He lost health. So if you were in a home league, I think now is the perfect time to like really start going after some of these guys because these are the guys that can like really be league winners. I would not be shocked whatsoever if from weeks 15 through 17 we found that Joe Burrow was the highest scoring QB. We found that Jamar Chase was the highest scoring wide receiver. We found that T. Higgins was producing as a bottom end wide receiver 1, and we found that Joe Mixon was producing as a mid-range running back 1. This is going to be like you want to invest in something.
But here's
like
the
this
problem.
right now.
And by the way, excuse me, I don't even know if they lost their wide receiver coach. Man. I don't even know. I just think for some reason I assume that. But now that y'all keep beating it, like, man, hold on, let me see if that's truly accurate.
Fact check that.
But here's the problem. The problem is the first thing you said. You said be patient. That's problematic because you don't have time to be patient. Like, we got to go now.
You don't got to start Burrow.
That's the thing. Like,
Man, it's 2023.
you're in a situation now where you now have to bench Burrow, and that's problematic. And
Why
then
is that?
when can you really trust him? I mean, if he has one good week, are you putting him back in the lineup next week? Or
If he looks healthy, yes. This is the thing. Burrow is Burrow an elite quarterback?
Yes. I would
Okay,
think
so he did not lose.
But here's the
he did
problem.
not
Here's the
lose his
problem.
skill.
You've had Burrow in your lineup up to this point. He's probably like
He is
sunk you
clearly
to some
hurt.
extent.
He is
No,
clearly
but what
hurt.
I'm saying is you've had people that have him. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
you because Abby does everything different, right? But most people that have him, they've had him in their lineup probably these first 4 weeks, good and bad and indifferent. He's just been there. He's sunk them. They're unless the rest of the roster have been just smashing.
Well, they took him in the 4th or 5th round too. So
Right,
it's not
right.
Okay, so
and then on top of that, you talk about the other pieces. Took Jamar Chase in the first round.
Yeah.
Took T. Higgins in the 3rd round. All these pieces that you were taking, Mixon was going in the 3rd to 5th round. All these pieces that you were taking for the Bengals, you had to take them high. So for you to kind of keep up, now you got to depend on you having your bench players or waiver wire pickups to get you as far as you can until these guys are ready. And we're always talking about the fact that this is a race. Like, we have 11 weeks to get there.
100% agree. But it's 2023, and I'm sorry, you should not be just drafting one quarterback. Okay, you should not be. Hey.
Everybody has their own philosophy.
I'm gonna tell you, hey, that philosophy is flawed. There. I'm gonna
I
tell
don't
you,
know.
unless you have Mahomes, Josh Allen, or Jalen Hurts, only those 3 quarterbacks, you should never just be drafting one quarterback. And then if you know let me finish. We know that Joe Burrow was hurt. We saw him go out there hurt. Immediately, you should have been on the waiver wire picking up players. And there's still players on the waiver wire. You can play the QB carousel until he gets healthy.
But the problem
you
with
don't
that
have
is
to start him.
The problem with that is, number one, okay, let's go back in time when this injury was happening. The Bengals themselves made it seem like the injury wasn't that bad. Like he was going to be back and he was going to be fine.
But game one, you saw it was bad.
But we didn't think it was going to be this bad.
But game one, you saw it was bad.
Usually when that happens, you're saying, okay, you kind of disregard it. Not to mention the fact that people actually were having Burrow in that tier that you were speaking of. People actually were saying he was ascending to that tier of Mahomes,
that
Josh
was your
Allen,
take too, by the way.
Yeah, and guess what? Guess what I did after week 1? I picked up.
I drafted and then on the
quarterback.
flip side, and again, I know not everybody is that savvy. Like we're guys that churn the waiver wire. Like we're always look for guys to pick up. Not everybody. There's people that literally draft their team and they ride with their team unless there's a necessary need to make an adjustment.
Yeah, don't do that.
And then so if you are going to now say okay, I need to find another quarterback. Let's be real. There wasn't that many great options on the waiver wire. I mean, now looking back on it, we could say this guy was an option. This guy was, but week 2, if you were looking at that waiver wire, Who was really just sitting there that you could say?
So let me say a couple different things. One, quarterback this year has not been just like dominant position. It really hasn't. Mahomes has had like a lot of just average, mediocre weeks.
Right.
Allen just had one explosive week.
Right.
Lamar just had his just one explosive week. Jalen Hurts has been so it's not like you haven't been like quarterback is not killing you. Quarterback is not killing you
Unless you have Joe Burrow.
Unless you have Joe Burrow.
But this is my thing. So do not drop Joe Burrow right now.
Nobody's
go
gonna
pick
drop
up
Joe Burrow.
another quarterback and start.
But,
You don't have
that's
to
my
start
question.
him.
What quarterback are you picking up?
You can pick up Sam Howell. Pick up Sam Howell this week.
Okay. You
Pick up Sam Howell.
You pick
and
up Sam Howell
But
this week.
But actually, I mean, Joe Burrow was looking a little bit more healthy last week, so I don't necessarily know that I would start Sam Howell. But if you were that worried about,
but that's
Joe
the point
Burrow,
I'm making. That's the point I'm making. Like, there's not many quarterbacks that were on the waiver wire up to this point. Again, now, like right now, we could say Josh Dobbs look good, but let's be real. Week 2, we were still like,
you were not feeling comfortable starting Dobbs.
I still would not start Josh.
But I'm just mentioning the guys that you're going to see.
So
guess what?
Guess what? Lesson learned.
Of course.
Lesson learned.
Yeah.
Don't draft just one quarterback unless it's those top three.
No, I'm not even going to say that.
And then we'll reassess.
I'm not gonna, because you can't have a philosophy and then one exception happen and then say, okay, well, I got to change my
It's
philosophy.
not one exception.
It
This has
happens.
been my whole thing for 3 years has been a quarterback scores the most. Let me just finish this one point though.
Okay.
My whole thing for the last few years, because people used to knock me on this 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
People used to knock me on this. They used to like group chat. Why is he drafting 2 quarterbacks? Why are you drafting two? This is the position that scores the most points in your fantasy team.
Okay, you made
and
that
it's
point.
a position where players like come out of not necessarily nowhere, but you see guys arise. You see guys. So and it's a position where you can also, for the most part, you can play like matchups. You can play like point totals. Why wouldn't at the position that scores the most points? Why wouldn't I want to have that?
Because the reason is because if you took a quarterback early or a quarterback high and that quarterback was the guy, there's never going to be a time you put that quarterback on the bench and you play the other guy.
Exactly. So in those three situations,
you're literally only taking a guy later because you're hedging for the fact that maybe your guy won't be the guy. And this is my pushback. Again, there's no right or wrong philosophy. First off, like
it was wrong. It was wrong to take one. It was wrong in that one.
That's not wrong at all because if you drafted just Herbert, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
If you drafted just Lamar, you're fine.
No, you're getting lucky. You're getting lucky.
No, I don't think you're getting lucky. You have these guys that are solid, high ceiling guys. You put in your lineup and you're good to go. Like if people draft one quarterback, because that's been successful plenty of times. We're talking about one situation now where a guy did happen to get hurt. Now I'll maybe fault the guys that took him after the injury, but the guys that were taking Burrow before he got hurt, like I have no reason to fault them for not taking another quarterback. And again, my thing is, if you were to take another quarterback, there was no late quarterback that was just a guaranteed guy. Honestly, a lot of busts are late quarterbacks.
But that's my point. That's my point. You don't need to try to take a guaranteed guy, but you try to like increase your odds of at least having a quarterback that's serviceable. You're saying we knew Burrow was injured coming in. We didn't know how injured, but we knew how injured was.
What quarterback would you have picked?
It doesn't matter if you're right. It's not about picking the right quarterback. It's about increasing your odds.
So
you could have gone Love. You could have gone Stafford. You could have gone a number of quarterbacks that would at least just be serviceable and not get you a 3 or 4 or 5 point game. You could have even gone Daniel Jones and played him at the right time.
The problem is nobody that was playing Burrow thought they were going to get a 4 or 5 point game.
Yeah.
Like they played Burrow because they thought he was going to.
And that is fine. But that is fine. But after week 1, there were still plenty of quarterbacks on
the
waiver
wire.
wire.
Gives up on a guy that quick.
Yeah. Week 1 is way too early.
So it's not about giving up on a guy. It's not that Joe Burrow went out there and had a bad game. It was that Joe Burrow was clearly not.
But that's the way you evaluated it.
That's not the way that I evaluated it.
No. What I'm saying is,
so then maybe you evaluated it wrong.
No,
because he even came out of that game. He came out of that game limping. He came out of that game limping, and they said that he re-injured his ankle.
Times guys have looked hurt and they still produce. Again, you're talking about a one exception situation.
The guy was limping at the end of the game. The guy was limping at the end of the game. So am I supposed to assume that he's just now healthy from an injury he had? No, I'm going to pay insurance.
But he wasn't so injured that
he played the full game.
He played the full game.
He
said he re-aggravated his calf.
The problem right here is you're thinking your approach is the only approach to go.
I'm not saying
not everybody does that approach. There's people that literally draft say, I'm going to get the quarterback that I know is going to be the guy. That's literally why I'm drafting him. And I know this guy's going to be that I start. and I'm going to build the rest of my team. And if that guy doesn't hit, then my team is probably going to bust anyway. There's not many players that are going to say, I'm going to take this guy late, and then I'm going to just figure out another guy that I'm going to be able to throw in my lineup because
and it's not just about the draft. My issue with that comment is that you drafted Joe Burrow. Say you drafted him as your only quarterback. There are some leagues where I drafted him as my only quarterback. You watch the games. You see him limping after the games. They're talking about how he re-injured his calf. You saw how poorly he played. That's on you for just saying, okay, I'm going to just roll with him another week. When you had all the opportunity in the world to draft a number of QBs that were likely on the waiver wire.
Gives up on players.
It's not about giving up on a player. I'm not dropping him. It's about I see the guy is physically injured and is physically limping, and he was questionable about.
If we look at
they were talking about whether or not to put him on IR.
If we look at the start percentage,
were there not discussions about whether or not to put him on IR?
The start percentage for Burrow in week 2, I guarantee you, a lot of people were not benching Burrow because of what they saw in week 1.
Okay,
like,
they were talking about
the whole buzz to even bench Burrow is coming. Really, honestly, I first started hearing it this week.
I 100% disagree with that.
That's really why
100% disagree with that.
People last week were still even starting Burrow.
Yeah, last week it makes. But this is what I'm saying.
This is the first week where people have really been like, man, you really just can't play Burrow. Like, people have really gotten to the point where it's like, okay, it's just not happening. But up to this point, again, the people that drafted Burrow, when you do these drafts, especially if you draft a quarterback high, Burrow was taken likely in the first 5 rounds. If you're going to take a quarterback that high, that means you're basically banking on this guy being the guy for me.
And again, I'm telling you that your process is wrong. If you were banking, let me finish.
In this instance, yes.
But let me finish. I'm not talking about this. I'm not talking about specifically. I'm not talking about just drafting Burrow as your number 1 quarterback. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's flawed. What I'm saying is that you went through week 1. He re-aggravated a calf that kept him out like 3 to 4 weeks, and there were discussions and rumors. There were discussions and yes, he was hobbling at the end of the game.
So they said he re-aggravated.
They said it. Yes, they said it. Yes, they said it. And he was wearing a sleeve. And there was discussions. There were specific discussions about him going on IR. There were discussions about him going on IR. So if you wanted to take the gamble that, oh no, that's nothing, and he's going to go back to his pre-injury self, that is on you.
It's not even.
That's a faulty way of playing. That's the position that scores the most points. It does not make sense to me.
It's not even just saying you're just totally ignoring it. Again, the first thing is, who are you going to play in his stead? Like, that's where I want to go. Who is the option that you're going to look to waiver wire?
After week 1, there were players on the waiver wire that you could have played.
Wait. So after week 1, he puts up 3 points against Cleveland. Do you feel comfortable benching Burrow
for who?
For Desmond Ridder?
Yeah,
you're throwing out. There were plenty of guys that I picked up guys. I literally picked up guys myself and started guys over him.
In week 2?
Yes, in week 2. Yes,
show me that. Show me that. I'm not. That's
bad. I just want to know
how was that?
Who was on the waiver wire where we looked at the waiver wire like this quarterback is a guy I feel comfortable.
You got
for week 2.
Exactly.
You guys are speaking from your viewpoint. I watched that entire game. I watched him get beat up. I watched him at the end limping, and then I had to hear about for the entire week about how he could potentially go on IR and then watch him have a sleeve. You damn right I picked up another quarterback.
Several times. My question is, what quarterback were you picking up at that time where you felt comfortable putting him in instead of Burrow? What quarterback?
Any quarterback, because I didn't even know that he was healthy.
Yeah.
Who?
I mean, I picked up Jordan Love in the league. I picked up Russell Wilson. I picked up Russell Wilson in the league.
Jordan Love was, first off, he was being drafted a fair amount. And number 2, during the first waiver wire run, he was being picked up. Plenty of places. Jordan Love.
You're asking me who I picked up. I'm telling you who I picked up.
Okay, but you're talking about these one-offs.
These are not one-offs. These are not one-offs. These are guys who were available week 1. Jordan Love was not somebody who was receiving draft.
Jordan was not. He was not available.
Go to the ADP. Go to the ADP. Jordan Love was available in leagues.
The point I'm making is, there was nobody on the waiver wire that you felt comfortable taking him, putting him in your starting lineup, and be like, okay, I
disagree. You're telling me that I watched the guy give me 3 points, see him re-aggravated injury, and listen to his.
So who?
Anybody?
You said Jordan Love, and me and Chris are literally telling you, and I'm sure there's people that are listening that will also tell you Jordan Love was not on the waiver wire like that.
Anybody?
He was available some places, and you're a mass drafter, so he's going to be available some places, but overall, Jordan Love was not available like that.
Yeah.
The quarterbacks that were on the waiver wire were like your Ryan Tannehill, your Josh Dobbs, of course.
Sam Howes was on there.
CJ Stroud was on there.
Exactly.
Matt Stafford was on there.
Stafford was even being drafted in a fair amount of places. Like the quarterback, you can't even look at the quarterback because honestly, the waiver
Love
wire
was available
now
a lot
is
of
not
places,
too different
man.
than the waiver wire quarterback wise week 2. The
Love
only
was
the only
available a lot of
quarterbacks that have probably
places.
been taken off the waiver wire is your Stroud and
Sam Howell.
Sam
Matt
Howell.
Howell-
Sam
Sam
Howell.
Howell-
Go look at Sam Howell's last. He was horrible. He was horrible. People are picking up Sam Howell now because they need him as a bye week filler, or they need him because Burrow sucks. They're picking him up now. Honestly, all my leagues, Howell was available. All of them right now.
That's what I'm saying. He was available.
But I'm talking about now. We're asking who are you going to pick up week 2 that you felt comfortable playing? There was no quarterback on the
and
waiver
I'm telling
wire.
you, literally anyone.
You
I'm
said
telling
Jordan Love, man.
I'm telling you, literally anyone. I said literally anyone.
So Ryan
anyone,
Hill- Ryan Tannehill?
I have
anyone
to
who
see a
is.
little more, man. Like, to be honest,
Ryan Tannehill. You
I don't remember what the matchup was, but I've started Ryan Tannehill in like advantageous matchups.
Okay.
That's how I play it.
Okay.
This is the position that scores the most points. If you're telling me my quarterback is injured, I just watched him put up a 3-point game, and you're telling me he re-aggravated that
could've
injury.
just been a bad
and
game. I gotta see
It's not
more.
just a bad game. That's the thing. That's the argument that you guys are making.
No.
But there is physical evidence of him hobbling. There's physical evidence of them saying that he re-aggravated his injury. There's physical evidence of people saying that he was potentially going to go on IR. It wasn't. I'm not making up. I'm not. It's not. This is not a subjective comment that he was.
I didn't hear
that he could
IR
re-injury.
speak. To be honest, I
There
didn't
was,
hear
there was
IR.
definitely IR speak out there.
I'm not going to belabor the point too much longer. There's nobody on the waiver wire that you just feel comfortable replacing Burrow. It's
Especially that
just
early.
really what it was. So, but
Well,
we go on
look,
to the next
you don't
subject.
have to start Burrow. This
Of
week
course,
that
thi-
but
this
this week is very different.
People ain't starting Burrow this week. Like that.
This
you ain't
week
gotta
is
tell
very
people
this
that.
week is very different. I am much more likely to start him this week than I was week 2. That's what I'm trying to explain to you
I'm
guys.
telling you, most of the people
Like,
out
I
there
will
are
start
not
Burrow
starting
this
him
week,
this
too.
week.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that
I will
right
start
now.
Burrow this week.
Okay, but I'm telling you what I'm always talking about the field. I'm not talking about Abby or
Okay.
Deo or Chris. I'm talking about the field. The field. The sentiment this week is people benching Burrow.
Okay, well let me let me be very specific then. If you have one quarterback on your roster, he puts up a single digit game, he's hobbling off the field, and there's rumors of him going on IR, you should probably pick up another running quarterback. I don't care who it is, but you should probably have a contingency plan.
Got it.
That's all I'm saying.
Hindsight.
All right. Hindsight is 2020.
Okay, it may be hindsight, but guess what?
What's his name?
Use that for the future.
Hindsight is
Yeah,
2020.
no,
I
yeah.
got it. That was a good. Juju.
Shoot, 2020, 2010, 2015.
Let's talk about Cooper Kupp. Listen, it looks like Cooper Kupp is back practicing. Him and Stafford. We saw like a video of them, connecting on a uncovered route. In my opinion,
I didn't see it. They doing routes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
So
I
he's
just
back
sent it
on
out
the
because
field.
Was
you
it
can see
fully
him
padded
running.
practice?
I can't.
Yeah, he was padded.
Was it a team
Like,
drill or
maybe-
was it like a one-on-one?
It was like a team drill, really.
So like the full, like he was out there like in a.
He
Yeah.
was uncovered, so like it was like him just.
Yeah, the
running.
only reason I
like an
said
individual
he was running. He looked like he was running basically full
it was like a
speed or like
707
90%
maybe.
speed.
That player can just
Yeah.
run, man.
But it leaves the question of what to do with Puka. Listen, Puka has been maybe a top 10, clearly a top 10
I
receiver
think it's top 5.
so
Yeah.
far this season. Cooper Kupp comes back. We know what kind of damage he can do. What do you guys think about like starting Puka now that it looks like Cooper Kupp might be back?
You gotta keep starting him. You gotta start him
Absolutely.
until further notice.
Absolutely.
He's the
Until
type
you
of player.
see different.
Like remember when I was talking about Devon A-Chain?
Yeah.
In the group chat?
Yeah.
And I was like, is this a guy where at this point forward you just start him?
Yeah.
That's what Puka is.
Yeah.
You just put and it might take a couple games of you to see him dud before you're like, okay.
Like, I don't believe that. Let me see it again.
Yeah, exactly. Like it
Let
might
me see
take a
it again.
couple because he started off so hot and now it looks so natural.
Yeah.
Now it's almost like
Yeah.
that's what you expect to see.
Yeah.
And if you don't see that, something wrong happened.
And I
By
heard
the
some
way,
interesting.
Puka's a top 4 receiver.
I told you
by
top
the way,
5.
FFPC scoring.
Man, I got so much Puka. I love it. But anyways, like I just I think every time I think about it, I'm just like, it's just,
So this question should be something you should be answering right now.
It's like,
Yeah.
you start them until like further notice. But it was interesting. Like I heard some thoughts on like Kupp potentially like running like deeper routes and Puka continuing to like run these like intermediate like close to the line of scrimmage routes. And I don't know if that's because like maybe him kind of running more in a straight line speed and not doing such quick turns.
Isn't straight
will
line
help.
speed more of a thing that will hurt your hamstring? Because
If
you're
you're like
literally opening
fast,
it up.
fast twitch guys, but I don't think he's necessarily a fast twitch. But I think someone like turning on a dime very quickly. I don't know. I don't.
But
know.
that's what I'm saying. Like a full, like when you're kicking, I think that's when it hurts your hamstring. I
may
think
be right
cutting
on
is
that.
more
You may
so
be
your
right on that.
ankle or your knee. Like
Yeah, you actually may be
gotta
right on that. You may be right on that.
Here's my
But-
thing. Okay, what about Tutu? Like, let's not do.
Tutu's
like,
having
I
a
feel
good
like people
season,
don't
too.
talk about Tutu enough.
He's having a good season,
And
man.
I've been
It's
personally
those three.
been on record. Huh?
It's those three. It's those three.
Know what I'm saying? When you're talking about him going deep route, Tutu has been kind of been the deep
Oh yeah, no,
route
no,
guy
no,
right now.
no. I'm not saying that. No. Cup is not. Cup is not the deep route guy. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, like, the idea that Cup is coming in, I think, and taking Puka's, like, all of Puka's routes.
Yeah.
I don't, like that. I don't agree. Like, I think they'll, like, they'll kind of be like, a mix of them running the same route, but I don't think he's like taking 100% of his route. Tutu will be the deep route guy.
Okay.
I liken this. Like, I really strongly believe like this is basically back in the day when they had Cup, Woods, and Cooks. I'm like, I think it's like I just think it's the same.
Yeah.
And that's actually what got me on Puka initially. I was like, oh, he could be like the Robert Woods of this offense, but with Cup out, like, he's had to be the Cup of this offense.
Yeah.
So maybe he doesn't relinquish this role, or maybe it's like a hybrid Cup Woods role,
So-
and they kind of share that.
So here's my concern. And, full disclosure, I have no Puka. Well, I got a little bit of Puka.
Our dynasty team.
Yeah, I got a little bit of Puka, but I don't have him on my FFPC.
You the one who put us on.
Yeah,
Puka.
I got him on my dynasty team.
Yeah, okay.
Because coming in, Puka was a guy I felt like he had a future.
Yeah.
Like he can like grow into. I didn't think he was gonna do. Cause week 1, I didn't know Cup was hurt.
Yeah.
So I didn't know he was like. I was drafted. I didn't draft much after Cup got hurt.
Yeah.
But and I don't have that much Cup either. So I'm really speaking from an unbiased point of view. My concern is I think Cup and Stafford have such a strong rapport, where it's almost like Stafford looks at Cup as a true, like, safety blanket. You know,
yeah.
like, and if everything breaks down, right? Everything breaks down. He'll be like, okay, let me at least. I know I could just throw the ball to Cup. And I think that might hinder Puka because I think that's what Puka's been lately. The safety blanket, because they haven't used anybody else in the short game. Like Van Jefferson's been non-existent.
Yeah.
Tutu, I haven't really seen do short routes. But Higbee's been a little bit of that.
But see, I think it's more the offense. I think it's more who's the first read.
Okay, so that's what
I think it's more who the first read.
I think
so,
the offense now is similar to what you were saying. Like the year when they had Cooks, Woods, and Cup.
And with McVay calling the plays, like sometimes Cup was the first read, sometimes the play was designed for Wood, and sometimes it was designed for Cup.
I think the offense thus far has been that way. But I also believe the offense has changed since that time to as recently as 2 years ago when Cup had that dominant season.
And that's
because Stafford was not spreading the ball around to different wide receivers.
But that's because they had nobody to spread around to.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. But I think now we're at a point where Stafford's going to have to make a decision. Do I want to stay within the offense again and be okay? Or because he's been successful both ways. Or do I want to say, let me know this guy who I believe had one of the greatest wide receiver seasons in NFL history from beginning to end. Do I want to say, okay, let me just go there because we know it works. Both options work.
But see, I don't think they're both options. I think it's the same option. I think like when it was just Cup, I think Cup was dominantly the first read. I think McVay.
No, but remember Robert Woods was there with Cup too.
But I think McVay schemed open Cup. I think he was always a first read. Like to me, Stafford is a first read guy. He does lock in, but he's locking in on a first read. And I think in McVay's offense, he's locking in on who his first read is. And I think usually,
so you believe because the offense when it was Cup, Cooks, and Woods was not the same offense when it was Cup, Woods, and Van Jefferson.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
I think if you
remember there was a time where we were like, people were wondering, it was like 2 years ago, people were wondering like what happened with Woods?
No.
Why is Woods not getting like he was literally a bust every week.
And that's what I'm saying. If you watch the offense, it is designed in such a way that there is one clear wide receiver who is being schemed open. And it's almost as if everybody else is decoys. Yeah, maybe he can go to his second progression, but you will go back and you'll see it'll be some type of play action pass.
So if what you're saying,
there's one guy that like is specifically like the designated first
if what
read.
you're saying is valid, are you then also saying that you think if Cup comes back, he's going to share that first read role? Like it's going to be
what I'm saying. That I don't know.
Sometimes Cup, sometimes Puka.
That's what I feel, but that I don't know.
Because if that's how you truly feel, then you have to be a little concerned. Because they could easily say, if we're really a first read team, and our best player is Cup, and he's healthy, he's going to be our first read again. Like they could say that. It's not out the realm.
But again, this is why I go back to like in the past they have not had wide receivers or polished wide receivers or wide receivers that they trust.
I got
and when we've seen that they've had that, those guys have gotten targets.
To be real
targets
with
are earned.
To be real with you, like we really don't know how it's gonna play out, right? Like we
don't.
it
don't.
could play out so many different ways that it could be a totally different offense.
Yeah.
It could be a thing where they now have 2 cups.
Yeah.
And they can really like go crazy
Hey, man,
with
be
it.
careful with that.
You know, I never saw that video.
Oh, hey.
Hey, did y'all watch it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I purposely avoided that video, but yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I think and I think that's a good point. Like you're right, we don't know. But when you think about like all the different scenarios, or try to imagine all
I
the
just
different
got
scenarios,
the joke, by the way.
Oh, you so late.
I'm so late. I was like, wait, what?
when you think about like all the scenarios, I'm gonna just throw like a number. I think 75-80% point towards like Puka being like wide receiver 2 significant. Which is like startable pretty much almost every damn
Yeah.
week. So that's kind of what I'm leading on. Like obviously he's probably not top 4 wide receiver.
To go on the other side of my argument, there's a chance Puka could still be the number 1 guy. Because Cook might still because the
You
buzz
threw it
we've
out
been
there.
hearing-
You threw it out. Remember what you said in the group chat? You like, is Cup really that good? Like, how many like elite seasons has he had?
I mean, 1. It was
Yeah.
great though.
Like, and I didn't believe it, but you go back and look, like he really has only had.
I don't know. People
one.
think he just had this dominant career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah.
He just had that one elite season,
One elite
and
season, yeah.
you watch Puka do it, and you're like, this is the offense.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Offense with the right quarterback.
I'm not even saying it's a talent issue. Like
Yeah.
I think he is what he is, and Stafford just is fine with him. But
But yeah.
where you going? Anyway, no. But I think. I mean, what if they say Cup is still hurt? Like I've
Or
been
just
hearing,
try to ease them back into the offense.
I mean,
too.
I've been hearing buzz, and I don't know, man. I'm just reading stuff on Twitter. I'm just a spectator, right? But
Yeah.
I've been seeing buzz where like people are like, he's not even up to 80-90% yet, and the team is gonna see how he looks. And obviously, remember when it first happened, they were like, he got a second opinion and see the severity of it.
Yeah.
I've seen reports that they're like they were concerned it was more severe than what it is, and
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
happy it's not. Like we're talking about just a hamstring. We're talking about an injury where we've seen
hamstring.
players come back after a couple weeks.
a hammy. Yeah.
Whatever he happened was so bad where it was of major concern, and now we're just talking. Well, maybe we're not talking, but now people are probably going to expect him to just come back and just hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And that might not be the case. It
Yeah.
might be a thing where he truly has to kind of work his way back in. And if that's the case, and this team right now looks like they're still trying, like they're not in tank mode.
So, like, that's an interesting point to make because I sort of see them as the anti-Bengals. So, the thing about the Bengals, like, they are a clear playoff team, have made the playoffs, have gone to a Super Bowl. And so, like, they're behind the gun right now. They don't have time to really rest Burrow because they have that bye week in the 7th. They're already behind the gun. Listen, like, they're in a tough division. They can't really rest Burrow and let him sort of rehab that calf injury. I feel like with the Rams, with the NFC the way that it is, maybe the Rams feel like they could like ease
Cup. I mean,
ease
they still
Cup
got to
back
fight.
in.
If they're trying to be serious this season and really see how far they can go, they're gonna have to compete with 2 division opponents in the Seahawks and the 49ers.
Seahawks not real either. So
You're right.
Say what?
I agree too.
What'd you say?
I said Seahawks not real.
They're not real.
Nah.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I haven't made my mind on them.
Yeah.
But they're gonna have to keep playing.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to keep up with those 2. I mean, the 49ers ain't going away.
Yeah,
In reality, they're really just fighting for that second.
They're fighting
place
for that
spot.
second spot.
Yeah, in the
for a
division.
while.
So,
Yeah.
and like I said, from what I've seen, they've been playing hard. So,
The defense has looked a lot better than I thought they were.
hey
gonna
man,
do.
shout out to Kyron Williams, man.
Oh,
If you're
yeah.
watching this, Kyron, man, thank
So
you.
much
Yeah,
Kyron.
Matter of
thank
fact,
you so much.
put your
much
parents.
Kyron Williams.
Like Kyron's parents, thank you for having Kyron Williams, because
Yeah.
this guy right here is like carrying a lot of my teams.
Yeah, he
and
is.
bruh,
He is.
bruh.
Yeah,
So
like we were on him before, like a lot of people were on him.
I wish I was on him.
Yeah.
I wish I was 100% on him.
Yeah.
Like I wish I was taking him everywhere.
It's
he
like
jump.
those 2 guys have just been locked in lineups. Kyron and Puka.
I mean,
And it's just
Kyron's
a-
been
it's a
giving you
beautiful thing.
running back 1 production
It's a
for a
beautiful
guy
thing.
you've been able to draft in 16th round later or picked up off the waiver wire.
Yeah.
Running back 1 production.
Yeah.
Again, 60-foot view. Okay, this has kind of been like the theme of the season thus far. Things are obviously going to change, but let's just say for the first
We're gonna
quarter.
name this podcast 60-foot view.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, if you paid attention or you attacked these offenses that people or that, a lot of us were like, you know what, let's stay away from, the Tampa Bays of the world,
The Houston Texans.
the Houston Texans of the world,
Let's
the
go.
Rams of the world. Like, there were so many offenses that people were just so down on.
Mm-hmm.
And we kept talking about it. We talked about Tampa Bay looking just like Seattle,
Yeah.
where target tree was narrow.
We did.
And it was
they had
just
the same OC.
it had the same
Same
OC,
OC, yeah.
and we talked about how much buzz Evans was getting and how late he was going.
Yeah.
And like, obviously he's got injured, but he's been like very serviceable for like 3 or 4 weeks. And then the Rams guys, they were just free.
Mm-hmm.
They were just free, and we kept talking to ourselves. At first it was kind of like, okay, Higbee, and then it was like Van Jefferson, and then we had to kind of like long talk about how Van Jefferson's just not good. He's like, or like, we don't believe in him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when we like started. Okay, like Puka.
I think our first episode this season was talking about the Rams
Yeah.
receivers. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
We
And
just
the-
throwing out the names.
And and to me, like, Kyron was like one of the easier picks, and because it was just a constant drumbeat that like he's getting all the passing down work,
Yeah.
he's getting
That
as
was the
much
thing.
work as Akers,
Yeah,
and
that
knowing
was the
that
thing.
Akers, like knowing the falling out that they had last year,
They were kind of souring on Akers.
yeah,
last
and
year.
he was coming
Yeah.
off an Achilles, like, and he was just like a cheap handcuff that was just so easy to get
Yeah.
in drafts. But like, just a lesson to be learned. It doesn't always work out, but like these offenses that people just like want nothing to do with, those are the offenses that I think
You
that
can
you
find
need to
gems.
spend
And you-
more
and you-
time on to like find like those hidden values. Even like Arizona, and
Yeah.
we were all, at least I was completely off of Marquise Brown. We like
I got
Connor,
some
but like.
Marquise.
The rest of the, like, we weren't like not on the tight ends, not on the wide receivers outside of Micah because he was going so
Like
late.
they got to throw it
But-
to somebody. Like so, that's what I'm
Yeah.
always saying. They got to throw it. They're not going to start the game off and just kneel the ball for 4 downs. They're going to try
Yeah.
to do something, which means somebody's going to score fantasy points.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you can literally take stabs at all the options because they're all taken so late or not taking it all.
Yeah.
And just see which one is the guy and then drop
Yeah.
the rest.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. With that being said, strongly consider adding Ronnie Rivers to your
Yeah.
I
bench
guess
if
tonight.
you have space.
Yeah.
Because now he's the handcuff, 1 injury away.
Space is tough.
Kyron, it's tough. It's so tough,
Yeah.
especially with all my McLaughlin, Keaton, Mitchell
Yeah.
roster. You know what I'm saying? I got no more room.
Sometimes, like definitely like fantasy football, like, sometimes luck is involved. Like, and I know, but yeah, sometimes luck is involved. And like, this just seemed to be a year where a lot of the guys that we were like overweight on just like have fallen into
Yeah, man.
like these positions. So, we'll see. Like, again, it's only 4 weeks in, a lot, I think the next 4 or 5 weeks are going to look very, very different, but that's why we stay grinding. That's why we stay ready. That's why we stay hitting those waiver wires.
Yes,
Sounds
sir.
like you ending the show right there.
Yes, sir. It is.
That
It
sounds like
is.
some end of the
I'm
show.
tired.
type
Perfect,
word.
yeah.
Tired.
Hey man, look at Amari DiMercado. I keep mentioning his name and
I added him.
you added. Oh, you did?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
good,
added-
good. When I first mentioned it, everybody looked at me crazy, but
Yeah.
now he's getting snaps.
Yeah.
Like he's getting, and he might have jumped
Yeah.
Keontae Ingram. I don't know, but I mean he's getting snaps, and that's also a team where right now they're looking great.
Yeah.
But I would not be surprised at all if they just go on a losing streak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And then by the end of the season, you now start saying, okay,
Yeah.
remember James Conner? Like we don't have a future with James Conner. Let's get the other young guy in. Then Mercado starts actually giving you fantasy points. Mess around and be a running back
Yeah.
1 or 2 during the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah.
Greg Dulcich is another guy. He should
Yeah,
be
he-
coming off of IR in a week, and there's a void there, tight end. We saw, and obviously we were aware of like Troutman getting all the snaps, but Troutman's not doing anything in the receiving game
Right.
aspect of
At
things.
all.
And that that team struggles in a lot of ways, so that's a potential one as well.
And we
then-
just met Keith Mitchell. Yeah, everybody should know about Keith Mitchell, but
Yeah.
if you don't, do some research. Like
Yeah.
you should know about Keith Mitchell. Like you're
Gotta
already
do some
behind
Keith
if
Mitchell.
you don't know about Keith Mitchell.
All right, guys. I
Wait,
guess-
I'm not finished.
All right, go ahead.
The Colts tight end, right? Jelani Woods, he's not coming back.
Mo
man.
Allen?
He's still hurt.
I've been on Ogletree.
Yeah, Ogletree or
Ogletree?
Granson.
Yeah,
Ogletree or
I think they like you said, they're going to use multiple tight ends. Ogletree is just like a very big body. He's got some athleticism to him. It looked like they schemed him open a couple times. And Anthony Richardson likes his tight ends. Like he
Yeah.
really does like his tight ends.
Rookie quarterbacks
And
and tight
I've
ends.
never, I don't believe in Alec Pierce. Downs is still a rookie. And I think there's an opportunity there. We'll see if like he can carve out a little bit larger role, but I like that call.
Super flex leagues, if you're in a deep roster, start looking at Taylor Heineke like we've been talking about. Start looking at Tyson Baggett or Baggett. Somebody's going to correct me. I don't care. But he's the backup quarterback for the Bears. We were talking about it pre-show, man. I don't know what's going on in Chicago. But everything I'm hearing is just not good and it keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
They might get – I mean, I was seeing some –
Could get ugly.
I've seen some things this week where people – like Bears beat writers were talking about trading Fields. Like they had Justin Fields like proposal trades out there.
Crazy.
Like,
That's
you know,
crazy.
and I was listening to the radio. The radio was talking about, man – because they were playing out the scenario. They're like, what can happen this year where the Bears won't consider taking a quarterback high in the draft next year?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that can happen, you know? So if that's the case, why not cut bait now?
Yeah.
Like, start the full reset. Guarantee you get one of those top picks because they also got the Panthers pick, who's also 0-4.
Yeah.
You know, so guarantee you get that top. And I start thinking to myself, damn, they're right. I'm like it's one of those things. Like, remember the day C-Mac got traded? They kind of like, damn, he got traded, but they're like, okay, I kind of see what it is. Like, I can kind of see that same thing with Justin Fields. Yeah. And also, and I told you to put on the show sheet, but I see you didn't.
What?
The Panthers, the buzz has been the Panthers talking about they're trying to trade for a wide receiver.
Oh,
I think that's significant because
I didn't see that in the group chat, by the way.
you don't remember when I put? Okay,
Okay.
I'll highlight it for you. But if they trade for a wide receiver. You're not looking at certain guys. I mean, there's the guys that stuck out to me immediately was like the Broncos receivers, Jerry Jeudy.
One of those guys is gonna get traded.
Hollywood,
if not both.
Hollywood could get traded, man. Hollywood could get traded.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams, you know.
Ooh.
I mean, they're just receivers that I can like T. Higgins.
Yeah, I can see T. Higgins getting
You
traded.
know, and if any of the guys I just mentioned just get traded,
Cooper Cup.
You threw that
said
out
that
there.
earlier. I knew
But if any of those guys get traded to the Panthers, it changes the dynamic of the team they left a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't even know how to really plan for it. I guess I'm saying stay ready, but I think that's something significant too. But that's all I got.
All right, guys, that's our show.
Wait,
for the
nah,
first
Joe.
quarter. That's our show for the first quarter. Please like, rate, subscribe. We're out.